So this is part 2 for the Technics SA310 that we looked at a while back and determined that the problem was the STK power module. That power module has now come in, and we're going to complete this one today. And I'm going to give you guys a bit of a recap of how we got to determining the module was defective. The SA310 is an AM/FM stereo receiver by Technics. It's one of the new Class A receivers, and this one's totally dead. Upon inspection, we find that the fuse is completely blown. It's blown black. That means a catastrophic failure and a dead short somewhere, more than likely the IC that you see in the center of the screen. Let's check this out and determine whether that IC has in fact failed. Since fuses are relatively expensive, we don't want to blow them up unnecessarily, so I'm going to put a dead short across a fuse. Probably not a wise thing to do if I were to just plug this in directly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it into my current limiter, which is essentially a 100 watt incandescent light bulb in series. And if that light bulb lights up bright when I apply power, as you can see that it does, that means we have a dead short. The light lighting up bright as it does indicates excessive current draw. Something's got a short in it. It could be the transformer, it could be the bridge rectifier, or more than likely it's the main power IC. Because everything on this amplifier, all the output transistors and everything are all in that STK power module. We can easily determine if the module is causing the problem, as we showed in part 1, by just disconnecting the module. If the short goes away, there's where the problem is. But that fuse itself, the way that fuse failed indicated a catastrophic failure of that IC. So let's disconnect the IC and see what happens. And to show you that we do have a dead short, if I measure across the capacitors, we'll have a dead short, right? Got a dead short across the filter capacitors, and that's not just the caps charging up. That's the short in the circuit itself. And if we put this thing into diode test, I bet you if I test across here, we'll hear some shorts. There, you see, there's a good indication that it's shorted right there. Okay, IC shorted. So we'll confirm this by removing the IC itself, and then I can power the unit up and find that there's no short. That'll confirm that that's what the problem is. Customer wanted to go ahead, they got the IC, so we're going to go and change the IC and get this unit working again and see if there's anything else that's problematic with it. But at this point, everything is pointing to the IC. So here comes out the old IC, and next we'll put the new one in. I know this is kind of a bit of a recap from the first one, and I cut a lot out there when I was troubleshooting because we know where the fault is. So let's get the IC out, get the new one in, and get this unit back in service. Okay, transformer's plugged in. We'll turn on the power switch here, and when I turn on the power switch, I just turned on the bench power, we will hopefully see the display light up indicating, and of course we won't see the light turn on. If that light still turns on, we got a problem, but we don't have a problem. As you can see, everything's lighting up here. This is kind of cool because it had a digital display as well as it had a meter which moved to show you where you were tuned in. So the first thing we'll do on this, after I remove the screws that hold the IC in place, is we're going to clean off the old heatsink compound that's on here so that we can get a good thermal couple for the new IC, and then we're going to put a liberal coating of heat transfer compound. So first we're going to wipe off the old stuff. So we're putting on the heatsink compound. We're just going to give it a thin coating, enough to fill all the gaps. You don't want to put too much of this stuff on because it's just going to squeeze out the excess anyway. It's just to fill any small gaps between the metals. Then I just drop the IC in place. thread the screws in and tighten them down. These are the type of screws that you do want to put on fairly tight as well, because they are going to be what holds the IC up against the heat sink to drain away the heat. So these ones are, you do want to torque these ones up relatively tight if you can. Now time to solder the new IC in place. This tip has certainly seen better days. I think it's about time I get a new one, but this will work. This tip has been on the iron here for probably 2 years now. Okay, the bottom's ready to go back on. Again, we have to line up the board holder, as that's going to line up with a tab on the other side here. It lines up with this tab here. Fits in like that, I believe. Yeah, fits in like that on this side. Like that. And then the back tab slides into this groove. Like that. Time to connect the speakers. Uses the standard Technics twist lock. Speaker terminals that were so popular with a lot of their units. Some people like them, some people hate them. They are an improvement over the spring-loaded clips that a lot of amplifiers and receivers used, but not as good as the solid binding post. It's got to get a fuse for this thing. This takes a 3 amp fuse, so let's go find a 3 amp fuse for it. Put a 3 amp fuse in, let's turn it on and see whether it works. And it's got to tune in something on the radio and see whether we get any sound. FM. I don't have an antenna on this thing. So, oh, tuner. Good sound. Let's see whether I can tune in my... Oh, I can't tune my FM. I can't tune my test transmitter in because it operates at 87.5 and this one doesn't tune down below 87.9. But you can hear we got noise. Let me hook up an antenna or a piece of wire to it so we can pick up some commercial. Well, let me just tune my transmitter up to 87.9. Then we can play some royalty-free content over this thing. There we go. Well, as you can hear, the unit's working. What I want to do on this before I go any further is it's got some of this crappy glue right down here, and this is in this they call it the computer drive. See this glue that goes conductive? I'm going to remove that just to prevent any problems that may crop up from leakage here, because this stuff is just terrible. Anytime you see this I think it was Sony Bond that they used, but anytime you see this crappy yellow glue, it needs to go. See this stuff down here? That stuff causes all kinds of real big problems on a lot of devices, because what happens with it is after a period of time it starts to become slightly conductive, and it can cause problems, especially on critical circuits where bias voltages and stuff are supplied. So we want to pick this stuff off. I was looking for my dental pick here. That one around here somewhere. We're going to pick this all out of here and clean it up, just to prevent problems down the road for when this stuff goes bad, because if it hasn't already, it will soon enough. And better just to remove it, and then you don't have to worry about any problems cropping up down the road by leaving this crap behind. Because I've seen so many problems over the years caused by this stuff. So I've cleared off all of the glue there. There we go. That really nice tuner on it, the dual display. The dual display for the tuner. Let's take a look at that when I scan through the channels. Okay, so we go through tuning. Where is it here? You're in a hotel. As you can see, the analog dial keeps pace with the digital. And where's my tuning here? Auto and manual. Auto mode. How do I tune this thing? Auto. Manual. Anyway, as you can see, as you tune through the dial, it goes up to 108 or 107.9, and it goes back down to 89.7. I don't have much of an antenna. I just have like about a 3-inch piece of wire, 4-inch piece of wire on here, so. The 93.3, that's actually pretty good because that station's a long ways away. 92.9.
Rock starts now on 92.9 KISM.
That's Bellingham.
Canada's own Scott Helmet is back with his highly well, Sleep Country.
Walmart is rolling back.
这情况，所以他没有办法得到理。
With the Subway app, you can order from just about anywhere.
Like the Amazon jungle?
Ma fille devait reprendre.
What are you pricing?
It's a crack!
I'm still choose you.
Okay, I've been running this thing here for a while. Nice and cool. Yeah, cool to the touch. I think this one's, it's pretty safe to say this one's ready to go home. Say, oh, what's wrong with this was the blown fuse, as you saw in the last video, and the IC, but it looks like this eBay purchase is one that actually works. I mean, I've run across eBay ICs that have been pulls, and they've had problems, but this one here actually works, so I'm happy. Customer will be happy as well. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon. Bye for now.